Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. I'm Protomario, and I just got done editing a bunch of videos all day, and so I decided to sit down to some dinner and watch some YouTube, and I saw and recently uploaded from a guy named Boogie Francis. I'm not subscribed to the guy, but I saw that he was ranting about the video game industry and video game journalists, and so I clicked on the video, and he had a pretty solid rant about, you know, the journalist out there. Many stories I've covered in the past, stories like the guy who went to the Rock Band thing and thought all video games were stupid and he didn't want to play the video game. And Francis makes some good points there. But this made me think, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I found out that apparently there's been a big controversial article written on Polygon about how video games may or may not be art. Now, before I want to get into this, I would like to announce that Polygon did change and update their stuff, like they always do, to say that their staff didn't write this, but someone promoting their ebook. And yeah, the ebook isn't that expensive. It's kind of crap, man. You sit there and you use a clickbaity article to get views and promote your ebook, but hey, whatever. You know, Polygon, are you shocked? I'm not. Anyways, the headline of the article, promotional book, whatever you want to call it, is WTF is wrong with video games, how a billion-dollar industry refuses to grow up. Things like that. And that's pretty poignant, and it's supposed to get your attention. Oh, they're attacking video games. And honestly, I just think the guy is using it to generate views and get sales and things of that nature. No problem. Okay, whatever. You can have your own opinions on how you want to get views on the things of nature. You could be a marketing genius for all I know. Whatever. The point is that I read the article and the guy has a few thought-invoking things. Like, he talked about the reload mechanics in Gears of War and how when the reload mechanic looks nice, it's very nice, and then it gives you a bonus to damage if you reload it properly, or do what you're supposed to do, whatever, man. And he says it goes on to actually break how it's supposed to be artistic then. It's no longer artistic, but a game mechanic. And he says many of these mechanics are just crap. They're there just to be game mechanics. And I'd like to argue a few things. So, first off, I would like to say that I view most video games as art. There are video games that are not art. And there are video games that could be subjectively viewed as not art. But, you know, there's been plenty of debate and things and references. I'd like to point out a few. In the 2010 Art History of Games conference occurred in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, if video games weren't art, or art of games, if games were not art at all, then there would be no ability to classify them as the art history of games. In March 2006, the French Minister of Culture first characterized video games as cultural goods and as a form of artistic expression. Now again, that's just one French Minister of Culture, that's fine, but it is an influential political individual. And the United States National Endowment for Arts is accepting grants for art projects for 2012 that are expandable to include interactive games, recognizing that video games is an art form. The United Sports Supreme Court. Oh man. Woo! The United States Supreme Court ruled that video games were protected speech like any other forms of art. June 11th, in 2011, the Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association. So the lines between video games and artwork have been blurred, and it's very hard to put your finger down on it. But I think everyone will agree that it's awfully difficult to not acknowledge video games as being an art form when the Smithsonian American Art Institution held an exhibit in 2012 entitled The Art of Video Games, which was designed to demonstrate the artistic nature of video games. So I think a lot of people get swept up in the fact that they need to defend video games, and that's not exactly true. There have been ridiculous people who have critiqued video games as not art, completely disregarding all of these things I've told you beforehand. Roger Ebert, there we go, got it. Roger Ebert took place in a discussion and pretty much said that video games aren't art. Other people, like Telltale Games individuals, even Hideo Kojima himself, has asserted and acknowledged that many games contain artwork, but he stressed that the nature of video games, in contrast to the niche interests served by art, pretty much saying that video games may or may not be art at times. I may have been wrong on that quote, but you can look it up yourself. So there's quite a few individuals within the gaming world, within in game development that consider video games to be art and not art at times. So let's get into it, really. The point of the article really is that video games can contain art, but as a whole representation, the video games are not art, due to the fact that game mechanics limit them in their artistic potential. Now, I would like to point out that the article does try to compare video games to movies, and I think that's 100% wrong, because where a movie is a completed art project, it's laid out already for you, just waiting for you to watch. Video games themselves are not a completed art project. They are not there for you to interpret until you yourself have completed the video game, and even then, you may not have seen something that the developer put into the game that thought was deeply artistic and had artistic merit and value for you to see. So art is subjective as well. One can't sit here and say that, oh well, all movies are art, and you have movies like the Super Mario Brothers, where many people dislike the movie. It's a bad movie. It's so laughable that it's good. But the artistic value there is somewhat diminished, especially in other movies. For example, just check Metacritic for the lowest rated movies. The Room. Are you going to tell me that that is indeed art? It's Michelangelo's David of the video gaming world, except that it's the exact opposite. And Michelangelo's David is the most ugly thing on the planet. No one would consider those movies to be artistically valuable, but they are art. So when someone goes around flinging accusations saying, well, they're not art because the video game mechanics. Yes, there is value in debate there, but the point of it is, it's kind of silly that you consider these things art, but not this art. And this extends into other things. Think about music, for example. I remember back in the 90s, there was a CD of Space Ghost and like the Adult Swim show and things like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but one of the tracks was just nothing but farting noises. Are you going to legitly tell me that that is art, straight-faced? Why don't you put your top hat on and put your nice dress jacket on and pop your monocle in and tell me straight-faced that that's art? Because you can't have one without the other. You can't sit here and say, well, no, that song there is passe. That's not art. So if you can't sit here and take Nicki Minaj seriously or Beyonce seriously and call them artists, or God forbid Justin Bieber seriously and call him an artist, then you can't sit here and say that beautiful musician composers that have the ability to invoke emotion through their music, Michael Jackson with his Thriller, you can't sit here and say that that is art, but these terrible musicians over here are not artists. It's like the starving artist. Everyone can create some great works of art, but because they're so subjective in nature, those artists may never be recognized until they are far dead, far from being recognized. Same with poetry, same with song lyrics, same with rap artists. Now, when it comes to the subjective elements of something, I would like you to understand some of the games that have been considered art and art forms. So, I believe Halo, from the 2600 port of Halo was considered art and presented in the art museum. There are other games from the 20th century. Tempest has been considered to be a strong artistic experience that is compared to paintings. The Myst series is a great graphic adventure. Cosmology of Kaito, Final Fantasy VII, Grim Fandango, Deus Ex, Max Payne, Silent Hill 2, Metal Gear Solid 2, all of these are considered art. Okami, Shadow of Colossus, Bioshock, Braid, Flower, Heavenly Rain, Amnesia, and there's so many more on this list that are extremely considered to be an artistic art form. So boiling something down to mundane game mechanics and saying it's not art because of this mechanic over here, it's kind of a silly notion to think that that's the reason that you're not allowed to be in the art club, quote unquote. Video games will eventually probably be realized as 100% art. They're just art and you're going to have to deal with it. It's just like those old fogies that sit there and say, oh, what you listen to? Oh, those are just toilet noises. It's silly, man. It's so silly that you'll sit here and you'll defend your art that you consider to be good art, but everything else that you don't consider to be art, it can't be art because you don't consider it. Art is subjective. And for anyone who sits here and takes this guy guy as 100% canon and serious about his prefaced article, his promotion for his ebook. You don't need to take him serious, but you can address some of the things that he says in the article while still being just a normal individual who consumes media and plays video games. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to get Christian offended. You don't have to lose your mind over it. But I do have to say that once again, Polygon felt the need to say that one of their people that work on their staff wrote the article first and then had to alter it. So that's naughty of you, Polygon. Naughty, naughty. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, Protomario. I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on this. Please leave your comments in the section below, and if you have something that you'd like to add to the conversation, please do. Do you believe video games are an art form, and why or why not? Let me know in the comments below, and I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. Good gaming, and as always, God bless. And now, the important decision of joining the Maverick Rebellion. We are a tight group of individuals who rebel against stereotypes and greater evils that are commonly accepted. ISPs, children being conned out of games, sexism in video games, enough is enough, and the Mavericks have had it. If you choose to subscribe, or stay subscribed, you are joining the fight against injustice by watching my numerous video topics. From net neutrality to publishers covering up botched releases, the Mavericks are always informed on the issues plaguing your gaming experience today. So don't be left out in the cold, and don't let those people keep you down. Join the Maverick Rebellion today and become a member of the community that will listen and engage with you. What are you waiting for? Just click subscribe and you'll be in good company. Mavericks unite!